Awesome.
Anna made it.
Let's go. Pieces of
Steel Wars.
Want to talk about my movie, you pieces of shit?
Yeah.
Welcome to Rebel Watch, an all-Star Wars podcast.
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly.
Hey, Star Wars fans, welcome back to Rebel Watch. I'm Ez, and this here is Mike. How's it going today, buddy?
It's going great, man. Feeling real good. Feeling still conflicted.
You're still a little conflicted, right? I mean, we get it.
It's not even so much the movie, though,
Right.
anymore, because
on,
I've come to terms with some of the things. It's the reaction
Yeah,
to the movie.
Oh, wait, you mean
The fans.
the fans who have gone and watched the film one time? And
One
when
time.
the humor got kind of bad there in the beginning, and they said, "Oh, I'm done."
That is fired up.
Okay, or they got to the point where Luke's milking, an alien on the island. Oh,
He's got
I'm
to
done.
eat and drink.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it didn't go the way you thought it was going to go, and so I'm done. I'm not even going to go back and watch how all of the complexity, the writing, the different themes. We've got leadership. We've got moving beyond tradition. Sacrifice, failure.
There's a lot there.
Symbols of hope.
Yeah. But we're focused on milking some damn sea creature.
Right. We can't get past it for some reason. We can't get past the fact that we would kill Supreme Leader Snoke.
Yeah.
To build up and show us how clever Kylo Ren or Ben Solo is.
Agreed.
I mean, because he was trained by one of the greatest Jedi Masters of all time.
Right. That's right.
Luke Skywalker.
Longest introduction ever.
Wow. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You're fired up, and for good reason, for good reason.
I don't know, man. I mean, I've gone and seen it 3 times now.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So,
good.
And I learn something each time I go.
That's right.
And I will say I feel like I get something each time. More so than I did when I went to the Force Awakens again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Agreed.
The other thing I'll say is, for years I've heard people in the Star Wars, community talk about how the dialogue and the writing in the prequels was so piss poor and all these different things. Every line in this film matters.
Yes.
Okay.
It really does.
So we're really here just kind of in defense of The Last Jedi. So
I think that's the title of the video.
I think it's going to be. Yeah. So
I love it.
It's
good.
There's a lot to talk about, because I think I was surprised by. I think you look at the major, Rotten Tomatoes, IGN, folks like that have given this a really good ratings, right?
The critics have,
The critics, right? And then you get down to some of the fans, and they
it's like a 50-50.
They hate it, right? Yeah. But I would like to talk to our younger generation sometime and sort of see what they thought.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because my kids at high school, see if they just enjoyed it as a movie. Right. I don't know. So. Let's how should we start this, Mike? Should we just
let's go through the cons. Let's talk about what people. I mean, I think 80% of the videos I've seen online are people. I haven't even watched all of them. It's just titling like why this is crap, why this is the worst Star Wars movie ever.
Wait a second. Okay, that's I guess the thing is it's the worst Star Wars movie ever.
That's what people are saying.
That's what they're saying.
Yep.
Are you kidding me?
That is.
I was talking to my buddy Lane earlier.
Yeah.
And he was listening to our first podcast, and he had said, hey, when you talked about the Star Wars box, right? Mm-hmm. And how people just can't accept that this movie has force powers outside of the Star Wars box, or, it went in a different direction than we thought it was going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that just upsets people, I guess.
It does. It really does.
But had we made, the same episode 7 or something close to 5 or whatever, it'd be too predictable. It's too whatever.
It would have been the same crap from the Force.
You just can't. Well, I guess the thing is, it's cool to be critical these days. It is. It's cool. It's cool to be critical. Yeah. And I say that, and I'm completely biased.
Well, yeah,
towards this movie,
and
so I'll say that as well.
And
okay?
some people are biased towards being cynical and critical all the time.
Right.
Now, it's healthy to be critical.
It is. Which is why we're going to go over the cons.
Exactly. I mean, I understand the cons. We brought up every single con that people raised in their videos, every single one, and I don't think most of them. Yeah. I don't think at any point either of us said this is the greatest movie we've ever seen.
No,
there's flaws in every movie.
Right,
we enjoyed this movie.
Right,
we understand the criticism, we accept it, but we also see bigger themes. more story playing out than I think a lot of people give it credit for.
I think what it is that it's always a game of weighing the cons and the pros, right?
Yes.
And so I guess I hear people pointing out one or two different things, and in my eyes, there's about I don't know, 10 to 12 things that were awesome to every one thing that they're pointing out here. So
that's fair.
I don't know. It's just kind of where I'm at on some of this, but let's go over some of the big ones. Humor. I had mentioned humor in the beginning. Some of the I don't know, when the humor starts to influence the villain in the way that it did with Hux. I had to remind myself, go on to the next scene.
Yeah.
Don't let this.
Yeah.
You felt like it was a what?
I felt like it was a parody. I said that in the first video. I was like, is this a Star Wars parody?
Right.
When Hux is playing into this, and then when Poe makes the your mama joke, like I know. I didn't. There was some.
That was actually the funny part of that joke was the very last line, but it went on too long, and it was.
It didn't feel like it was. I don't know. And then they make another reference that Poe did when they were at Crate, and they said they're gonna blow through that big ass door or whatever. I was just like, I don't know. That was it. Just the place. I wasn't a fan of it.
Now, for some people, that landed because Poe was the guy who was sort of stalling with he's the funny guy, right? And that's what
funny guy, the fly boy. And I get they needed to continue that. It just fell short for me.
Right.
But I was so open to there being humor in the beginning. I thought it worked well in The Force Awakens. This just fell off.
Well, it
wasn't
just
so much it was at the beginning.
And we said this in the last video too, is that it affected Hux the way that it did.
It did. And that's what upset me is that Hux
made him look. It made him look sort of like he didn't. I just made him look bad, and I was like, kind of like Hux being more of a badass than
Just ordered the death of billions of people.
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't know.
So, okay. The next thing is, and we don't. These are not in any particular order. Just whatever come to our head. We were actually scrolling through comments, and we thought we'd pull a few of these out. Maz Battlefront 2.
Unnecessary. Just have her chime in. She's at the castle. Just have her chime in. Be like, I gotta go back to serving some drinks, but I know this guy. Like she doesn't. Right. It's cool. She's a badass, and
she's in a union dispute.
That's cool, but like it's just so forced. I don't know what to say about it. It was just weird.
Mm-hmm. It was weird. I'll give you that. It was. Yeah. It was awkward. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
There's that.
Absolutely.
Don't need to say much more. I think that one speaks. Right. That was, if you saw it, that was pretty radical. Let's skip around here a little bit. Oh no, the rest of these are all big.
Oh, big.
Rey's parents. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so the first two I didn't have counters to really. I'm with you on the humor, the Maz thing. Some of these other ones I'll have some counters for. But let's talk about what folks are saying about Rey's parents and how basically they're, irrelevant.
Yeah. But I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because J.J. Abrams set us up to be that her heritage was important, possibly. Everyone thought so, and I get that people are thrown off by that because these two movies, tonally, totally different.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to look past that, and there's a bigger purpose to her parents being irrelevant and just being nobodies. It's to set an example for everyone else out in the galaxy of what they can become. It's bigger than just you wanting your fandom to be pleased.
Right.
Of her being a Skywalker or a Kenobi. It's more than that. And I think initially I was also like, shoot, like that entire movie, The Force Awakens, chalk that up. It didn't mean anything. But you have to look past it.
I think, okay, so I'm going to stick with what you're saying for a second. I'm going to go a different angle here. But in The Force Awakens, it was, I'm no one. She said that.
Yeah.
And she's from nowhere, right? Yeah. And then they actually continued The Force Awakens theme, essentially. It just didn't go the way you wanted it to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they were telling us in Jakku, is that she was searching for her parents to be Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Get that. I mean, that actually is what they did. So Luke replaced Han Solo for her. And now who's going to be the next? Or are we done with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they kind of continued that theme. But I'll also say the... check our source there, right? I mean, the source is Kylo Ren telling us who her parents are.
That's true.
True. So, I don't know, Obi-Wan, who's on the light side of the Force, from a certain point of view, has lied to us. Yeah. Leia Organa is actually a Skywalker, right?
Why wouldn't?
Why in the world why is he, I mean, he's the master of manipulation, the son of darkness, right?
He is.
And why would he not, use that moment to try and persuade her to join him? You're no one. No one cares about you, but you mean something to me.
Yeah. Seeking an apprentice. And
so all of a sudden though, our haters and our critics
Yeah.
have just went ahead and said, oh, well, you just took that.
Yeah.
You just took it and you said, yep, there it is. She's no one.
She's no one.
And you're not even willing to step back for a second. Hold on. Go back and watch this film again, and let's take a deeper look at it. Because I'm not so sure that we can say that. If you look at the history of Star Wars, we have a history of doing that type of thing.
And I think
it's a straight setup.
And we talked about that. We talked about that right when we walked out, that maybe Kylo was lying to her just to fulfill his own selfish needs, seeking an apprentice. But when we talked about it more, that she's supposed to be a symbol, and had they not brought up those kids and some of them being force sensitive and just being, you know, people just living off of these slave children and things like that, and then getting rich off of their planets and things like that. If there weren't those themes, I would totally buy into it and say he was lying to her. I'm not completely out on it, but she needs to be that symbol in the next movie for others to join.
Oh, yeah.
And I think ultimately that's what's going to be. Now, if she is, and then all of a sudden Luke's like, hey.
But you're my daughter.
Sorry, I had to lie to you about that, but I was protecting you the whole time, and Kylo is a lion SOB, and you're really my daughter.
Or you're his sister.
You know, whatever. I'd be okay with that.
Here's the other thing, though, is that I wouldn't be surprised if it had dual purposes, you know, and that it was to, okay, now I can see it. At the end of this movie, we're opening it up to, you know, that kid who's sweeping up the stables is no one, and he could, you know, be our next big hero. I get that. Yeah. But then at the same time, let's let her believe that for a little while longer, and then all of a sudden, wait a second, there's more to this story.
Yes. That'd be big.
I could see it going. That then accomplishes both of those goals.
Because it's that would be setting us up for another shocking moment in Star Wars history, right? We're led to believe she's no one. Well, Kylo said so. Again,
and you can see people try to say that they're not being influenced by that Star Wars box or what have you, but they expected that reveal to happen in episode quote unquote 5 here. This being the second of that trilogy. Yeah. And they expected it to happen here and it didn't. And so they're mad.
They're mad.
So
it doesn't fit into the trilogy box.
It's uncomfortable because it's not what they thought it was going to be. So anyways, we'll kind of see how that goes. I'm completely okay with her parents being no one. I'm also okay with that being the case for now, and then there's some special big reveal later on.
That would be really cool.
If you don't think that episode 9 could shock us the same way that episode 8 did,
JJ.
You're just you're not thinking straight, because that is exactly what they could do.
They absolutely
mean, they could go any direction they want to. He's still really there was a lot of resolve, but then also a lot more questions.
Yeah.
And left it to go any way that you wanted it to.
That's true. So, more questions than I think people realize. I mean, someone said that we haven't what's progressed. A lot, actually. So we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. The next one we have is Snoke's irrelevant origins.
I was a big critic of that.
Okay.
But I accept it more now, thinking about it, and we read some of Rian Johnson's comments about Snoke and why he did what he did, and it makes complete sense. I mean, you can't for Kylo to fully achieve his dark side status. I mean, it needed to come, and to see him do even cooler things on the dark side in the next movie, you had to take the training wheels off, and you had to do it early in this movie, because he wouldn't have been able to fully accomplish that in the next movie, and then have to wait 10 years for him to come back and do something really cool like Darth Vader. Nah, I totally am on board with it now. I'm sure there will be other material out there, and we'll learn more about Snoke.
Right.
We'll hear his origins and maybe how he kind of corrupted Kylo, but I wasn't okay with it at first. I'm definitely okay with it now.
Yeah, and I mean, traditionally, you don't get in the movies a whole lot of, except for Darth Vader, I guess. You get some backstory there, but he's, again, a Skywalker, and that's is what it is. But like Palpatine, we went back and we learned more about him, but you have Darth Maul, you've got Count Dooku. So, I don't know. I mean, I said earlier, I don't know if I said this in the last podcast or just to you, if Darth Maul would have lived after episode 1 and people had all those, year and a half to speculate, what are his origins? Where is he from? Yada, yada, yada. But since we killed him in that movie, it was dead. We're okay. Well, he's just a Sith apprentice, and you're right. He's a master. So Snoke's a master.
Yeah.
I would have been cool to see some more interaction, or like a line from Luke, explaining that Snoke was there from the beginning. Just one line that sort of told us about it. Because when Count Dooku shows up in episode 2,
We get that.
We get that. We get a line
Good point.
that explains who he is. It's very quick with Obi-Wan. I wish Qui-Gon were here. Qui-Gon, and then Yoda says later on that, that he was his apprentice and things like that. So
what if I told you you were all being fooled by a Dark Lord of the Sith?
Right.
Like, well, I don't believe you. Could have been something like that.
Right, exactly.
But the way Ryan Johnson said it was like, I'll
just read it. Can I read it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he said in an interview, he said this. He said, if I would have stopped any of these scenes dead cold, if he had, I'm sorry, I'm going to start again. It would have stopped any of these scenes dead cold if he had stopped and given a 30-second speech about how he's Darth Plagueis. It doesn't matter to Rey. If he had done that, Rey would have blinked and said, who? And the scene would have gone on. And I'm not saying he's Darth Plagueis.
Yeah. And that makes complete sense if you put the explanation there when she confronts him. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's necessary. She could have done it. Luke could have told her about this and said, you go and confront him. Here's what you're going to face. This man has seen the rise and fall of the Empire. He's been here the whole time. He was a Sith master to Palpatine.
Right.
Here's what you're going to face when you go there. You can't do this. Mm-hmm. I thought that would have made it even more serious.
Right.
But
in the originals, they did a really good job, though, of the story is Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker, father and son.
Yeah.
So you stay away from Emperor Palpatine. We got some of that just indirectly in 1, 2, and 3. Well, directly, and when you get to 2 and 3, but what have you. So
yeah.
I think it's okay that his origins are irrelevant. I think it makes people mad because they wanted to get a whole lot more, but it's more. It just shifts the focus. It just says we're not really going to focus on Snoke. It's about Kylo. And people don't like him as a villain, and so that's another critique that we'll go into. They just don't like him. I actually think they tried to show us that he can outwit Snoke, that he is still learning. Yes, but it's the rise of.
Are they going to like it? Well, but here's the thing: if you don't like him as a villain, would they have liked him if he became a hero on the lights? Would you have liked him then? You still think he's some whiny SOB? What makes him a better hero then? I don't. Then you just don't like the character.
And I will get into that later because Adam Driver is an absolute excellent actor.
He was amazing in this movie.
He was absolutely amazing.
So. That just kind of justifies the point. It was just like he needed more time to get to this status of supreme leader because he could do some really cool dark stuff in the next movie and he's not turning now. He's not turning back.
Right. Well,
okay, there's a possibility, but I like going into it being like, okay, this is full on Kylo Ren.
But do you see how
now
wait a second though.
Yeah.
If that's the setup, they've got fans like you saying, "Oh, there's no way," and then he does turn at the end.
Then I'm okay with that.
But you know what I'm saying? Like they've now in this movie they have put this in you.
Yeah.
I mean, they've established they've got all these people with that are leaving a bunch of comments and hate about Rey's parents and Snoke's origin, and then Kylo Ren being a bad hero.
Yeah,
maybe they set you up for that, and then the third act here is coming, and then it's just sort of like, oh my god, it all makes sense now. Like
Kylo turns, Rey's a Skywalker.
Right.
Those could be two huge things, but I'm okay. I want a really badass villain, and I want Kylo Ren to unleash his fury. We know he's strong.
Yeah, we do.
He just needs to hone in a little longer. I mean, he fooled his master. He's strong.
Yeah, he is. He is, absolutely.
Who knows?
And he catches on quick.
He does. Maybe he'll be using Force Lightning.
I missed the part where when they have the Force connection and he sees Rey, and you caught this, and he says, he goes, "You're not doing this. The force of it would kill you."
It would kill you.
And he realizes right away that he hasn't been put together. And so when he goes in to see Snoke, he has that resolve. He knows it was Snoke.
Oh, he does. And he knows about the power.
He knows about the power. He knows what's going on. I think he realizes it's not, Snoke.
So I'm cool
or it's
either
not
way.
her.
You bring him in episode 9, he's redeemed. Great.
Right.
You bring him in and he dies as a hardcore villain. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with it either way because I actually like him as a character. There's people that don't. And so then you just don't like him as a villain. You wouldn't like him as a hero. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
That's my opinion.
I know. So let's go to the next one here. Leia floating through space. That was
weird, man.
That was a little weird.
It was weird.
It's cool. I'm glad they didn't kill her off right there. I was worried that was it, and I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Like I needed to see a reunion. I mean, because I was worried that they had gone back and done something.
Yeah.
And post at it and had changed the way that the story was supposed to go. I was like, just let it go, because I kept thinking to myself, you can flash forward 10 years after this and have her funeral and things if you wanted to do that. It's okay. But I get it. The Superman flying back to
it was terrible. You could have put that at the end of the movie, though, right? I mean, that battle on Crate, Leia saving herself in some other regard. I
in
wanted
space. It was kind of awkward.
It was kind of awkward, but I appreciate the fact of Kylo Ren not pulling the trigger. I loved that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Loved it.
Yep,
and I love that someone else did it, and he's distraught about it happening.
Dealing with it.
I love that.
Yeah, right.
I don't like the place of it. I get it was supposed to be a shocking moment there in the beginning, but it was so quickly turned. Like, if she'd just been out in space and then shows up at the end of the movie, she's like, "I'm back, bitches." Like, that would have been shocking.
Right.
But she's like, "Okay, she's dead. Okay, well, now this is weird. She's flying like super."
I know.
It was weird. It felt unnecessary.
Yeah,
it took away from that whole issue that Kylo had. And does he sense his mother now? Did he have a moment where he sensed her after that?
After that? Oh, I don't know about after that. Not sure about that. But I think what they were trying to do with this is that they were trying to set up that the Force is in control here. I think it was a desperate time for her. Yeah. And since she is super Force sensitive, it was like the Force, not that it awoke in her, but I mean, because she has been Force sensitive this whole time and has seen and felt things, the passing of Han and what have you, communicates with Luke in Episode 5, all those different things. So I think it was just sort of like, it's not her time.
Yeah.
And so she has a bigger part to play. She's a leader and needs to pass on what she has learned to Poe Dameron.
Yeah. No, so, I think that was her role.
And that's cool. Amazing. It's just the way it was shot, the way it was.
If she's going to have
a little cringy, but
awesome Force powers, sweet. I would have liked. I told you this a little bit ago. I would have liked her to have had some Force mind thing going on with Snoke, or like battling him to save Kylo or something. I don't know, or to be talking to Kylo, because clearly she can have those connections, unless he's just, well, I don't know, because Rey, consider her on the light side, she was communicating with him. So,
well, it's a couple of things. When you look at that Force connection, is Snoke. It's told us that Snoke is the one that makes the connection right between them, or whatever it is. Yeah. Stokes the fire, right?
Yeah.
But Kylo at one point says, why is the Force connecting us? And then at the end, both Luke and Snoke are dead, and they're still able to see each other and connect. So I don't know if it's just like Snoke attached the two strings together, and so it's good even beyond his passing, but I don't believe that's so, because, I think the Force just connected those two. I think it's more about that. Even if Snoke was sort of like listening in on that conversation, or was aware of it, I think that might have been what Kylo got out of that. So could that have happened with Leia? I think it could have happened. Yeah, it would have been kind of cool.
When Luke communicated with her, he saw her in her bed or whatever. She said, "Luke." Was it Luke reaching out, or were they both reaching out? Maybe she's not even aware that she had that ability to come back like that.
Yeah,
but like you said, there was a point to say the Force is kind of doing its own thing, as Luke kind of explained it too. So it made sense. Just wasn't executed
right.
well.
Yeah, it was just different.
Yeah.
So, we've heard people say in a comment, and this was ridiculous, that this movie wasted Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I could not disagree more. I mean, I could not disagree more. You would have liked him to do these different things. I don't know. I've heard Mark Hamill say that this wasn't what he thought Luke would be like.
None of us did.
None of us did. He's the optimistic, always there, blah, blah, blah. It was, someone said this, I can't remember where we read this, but it's also telling the story of getting old.
Yeah.
And needing, this youth or this new life to sort of remind you about, the good things, right? And to kind of bring a more optimistic look at, because they've lived so long and seen so many different trials and tribulations, right? Luke hadn't seen that yet.
No.
He's a farm boy. He's excited to get off and go do his thing.
That's right.
So is Finn. So is Rey.
Yeah.
They're ready to go.
Yeah.
But Luke now has lived this long, and he's let Ben Solo go to the dark side. I mean, he failed there. Yoda says, we can't let Rey go as well.
Yeah.
We can't lose her. it's like,
I don't know, man.
how did we waste him? How did we waste Luke Skywalker?
I don't think he's wasted at all, and I'll tell you why. Because
Okay.
we have so many preconceived notions as to what Luke Skywalker should be because of Legends material and all this and that. And let's be honest, they set Luke up exactly as they did in all the Legends material. He creates his own academy. He's a Jedi Master. There's all these things. He's doing exactly what people expected. But the cool thing is he's now training one of his nephew, just like in Legends. But then you throw this curveball of Luke Skywalker maybe not being the Jedi Master we thought he was.
Yeah.
He almost killed his father. He tapped into that dark side a little bit. He stopped himself.
Yeah.
But this just showed his shortcomings. I mean, what do you expect from Luke Skywalker? He wasn't trained in an academy. Failure.
Yeah.
He's learning something himself, in that, and we are as well, that Luke Skywalker can't be forever in Star Wars.
Well,
there's going to come a point
right.
where he's going to have shortcomings, and they need to be recognized, and people need to understand that there's a purpose to it, and that's why Yoda told him, you haven't passed on what you've learned.
Right. When Yoda says, failure is the greatest teacher.
It's the greatest teacher.
Well, and I mean, here's the thing. Luke saw all the failures of all of the masters before him.
He did.
But then he
Not
couldn't.
even so much his own
failure, right?
Yes.
And he needed to see that it's okay to, and you have to embrace that and learn from it. That you still have to move forward.
Up to a point where he meets Rey. He doesn't tell her the entire story about drawing his lightsaber. He was ashamed of it. He didn't even fully understand it.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's a great story because, and it's his nephew. It's a Skywalker story.
Yes.
It's complicated. That's Star Wars.
That is Star Wars.
So you can't say this isn't a Skywalker story. It's exactly a Skywalker story. It's just you expected Luke to be some just God sent from the heavens. He's gonna fix all the problems. The dude has flaws. He's not Yoda. He wasn't a Jedi for 700 plus years or whatever. Like he's gonna have shortcomings. And I thought this showed the very human side of him. But at the end, I mean, you get exactly what you wanted. You're seeing this Jedi Master who's strong, doing things we don't even understand.
I mean, to count what Luke being wasted, I guess I'll get into some of my pros. We'll still go over Rey's development, but I mean, he says, and this is all Rian Johnson's writing, right? I mean, in the beginning, he says, what do you think is going to happen here? That I'm going to take my laser sword and go face down the whole First Order?
Yeah.
Absolutely what he did.
It's exactly what he did.
And then for him to also realize that when he goes back and he talks to Leia and he says, that he says, I can't save him.
Yeah.
That's not to say that Kylo or Ben can't be saved. Luke can't do it.
Can't do it.
And then Leia understands he's gone. For them, he's gone.
Yeah.
Their time, they need to move beyond that. We need to let the past die. We need to move
Biggest
forward.
theme of the movie.
Right.
Kylo's doing it himself.
He is. We're trying to move forward and get outside of this box, right?
And Luke understands that. Luke understands, and this is what's cool because
or make the box bigger.
Make the box bigger. I thought we read somewhere that Mark Hamill said that Luke thought that Ben was the chosen one, and what a huge letdown to think, wow, I really screwed this up.
Well, he saw how powerful it was. I mean, he said,
how powerful it was. Yeah, I failed him.
Right.
He apologized for failing.
Right. I've seen this raw power, this raw strength once before in Ben Solo.
So why not go to an island and shut yourself off and to die? You feel responsible for another powerful dark side user just dominating the galaxy. It's all about the failures, and everyone was learning from them here. I think Leia was even learning from her failures. And how this new republic, hopefully, that they build is going to go.
Well, she's passing on what she's learned to Poe and things, and so is Holdo. Another thing with Luke, though, was this idea that, like right there, he had 2 lessons that he wanted to teach Rey. Yep. And so he taught her about the form. He taught her, he was going to teach her 3 lessons. About how, when the Jedi should end and why they should end, right? And so the first one is just about finding the Force and figuring it all out and things like that. We don't control people. It's not about us controlling anything or making rocks float. It's about, the balance, the in-between. It's like, seeing this all work, the Force in between all things.
But part of it's making rocks float.
Part of it is, yeah. But, which was funny, right? At the end, it's like
great.
that's
bringing
so
it back again,
so full circle. I mean,
it's great writing.
It's brilliant, and that's the thing that bothers me when people say this. Like, look at how much was foreshadowed there or hinted at, and then it comes back in later. So clever, I thought.
Yeah.
But okay, so he also mentions too that for someone to think that when a Jedi dies, the light dies with him, is vanity. And he was kind of referring to himself.
He was.
He was basically saying, the Force is more than me. I'm a Jedi. Let me die. Let me just die here.
The fact that he just gave up.
The Force will go on,
Well, yeah, the fact that he gave up on trying to change Ben Solo and just went to an island and shut stuff. I mean, he was doing that thing. He said, I'm the last of the Jedi. They're the only ones pretty much that could fight this darkness. So I'm just going to kick it. So he himself, like you said, maybe even embraced some of those things from the beginning, but now realizes that wasn't the way to go.
No, and it's cool. Someone mentioned in our comments, that R2 had to remind him of his past.
He did.
So it's like we want the past to die, but yet we need to be reminded and pull the good things from it.
Yeah.
Failure is our teacher.
Yes.
It's helping us move forward.
That's right.
All these different things. Yoda even says that our pupils, one of the greatest burdens for the master is that that we are what our pupils have to move past, or something like that. I don't know the exact quote. But
take Kylo Ren's statement and add a little addendum to it, and I think it sums up the movie perfect. Let the past die, kill it if you have to, but learn from it.
Yeah,
I think that sums up the entire theme of this movie.
Yeah, yeah, and that's hard for some people to take, I guess.
Yeah.
So but it kind of sets us up for something new, and you know what I mean. It was,
and if you're not just like throwing it into this, like taking these lessons you learn and applying it to the story of Star Wars, there's also, we're supposed to be applying it to ourselves here. This is different. It has to be different. It's time to be different. There's an entire generation out there that's new to Star Wars that really enjoys this stuff and enjoys this type of writing, and it's different, but there are things to learn from it. And some people, I said it last, we're gonna lose a lot of Star Wars fans of this movie.
Yeah.
But you also then are gaining a lot as well. I'm sure.
But it's great. And I wish I could just screenshot all these different people, right? All the hate I see out there and stuff. Well, when episode 9 comes out and all this stuff is tied back in, and it's all
could be,
because again we're making all these critiques. Look, I mean, as a movie, I know there are some shortcomings with it or whatever, but as a whole, I actually think it's one of the best Star Wars movies that we've ever had.
Bold statement.
It is, but I mean, I really do. I think it's clever in what it did, and it's so layered, and you have to go back through and pull these different pieces out to sort of see what's going on. Luke still has a lesson to teach. Luke still has a third lesson to teach, and I believe that's what Yoda had to teach him, was about failure and how we have to learn from those failures.
That's right.
It's not just, Luke, you telling Rey that we failed.
Yeah.
It's how do we move past that?
That's right.
How do you take her beyond where you ended up at?
That's right.
And so I think that's the next lesson. So
he told him it was right in front of his nose.
Right.
He's always didn't even realize that.
Right.
That last lesson was right in front of his nose.
Right. Luke's always looking to, the horizon and things like that, but he's never
Skywalker always looking to the horizon.
Yeah. I love that he calls him young Skywalker.
It's so good. So good.
So awesome. But so another thing that here we'll bring up, another con people have talked about is Rey's development.
I'm still on the side of that.
Okay.
That criticism.
Okay. Let me see if I can counter it. What do you got?
No, I think what she did was fine, and I understand. There's a lot to get into this movie.
The title of this movie was The Last Jedi.
She is the Last Jedi.
Exactly.
She is, and I appreciate that so much.
Right.
But I'm okay. I don't know. If anyone had to take a step back, I don't like that Finn took a step back in this movie. I think that's pretty terrible.
I know. Yep.
But man,
that didn't have it listed as a con, but I think that is one of
it is a con. That's a big con.
Yep.
But I needed more Rey. I know that sounds crazy because she was probably she was in there the most.
Yep.
But towards that end, man, we got in too much about sacrifice with Rose and Finn. I thought Finn was gonna die there. And
I did too.
I was at a point where I was like, it's okay. If he dies,
me too.
I'm okay with it because he did what he needed to do, and
I
you're not
actually
gonna see him in the next movie.
I actually thought that was okay too, because
But
I
it
was
sucks.
well, because now I'm it's where do you go, right? I don't know where they go, which is fine.
It's fine.
I'm like, what is going to happen? But it's
I thought that would have been epic just to bring him back like that in that regard, because it seemed like the way they wrote him into this movie that he's really not going to be that relevant going forward. That's fine.
But I think he did take a back seat too, because people have critiqued Rey's development. I mean, most of what I think carries this film is Luke and Rey. back and forth talking, and then also Rey and Kylo.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what saved, I thought, this movie for the most part, and what really holds it above a lot of the other Star Wars movies is to see that dynamic unfold. But you're right, characters like Finn, especially Finn, Poe developed a lot. But Finn, I don't know that he did as much.
Which is shocking because everyone
he learns more about the
loves
galaxy.
Finn.
Yes, I love
everyone
Finn.
wanted more Poe, but not at the
cost of Finn.
the cost of Finn.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was getting to is if that was going to happen, okay, but then I needed more time with Rey and her understanding her powers, and at the end, I wanted it to be hit home more. It gave me chills when she's moving those rocks, and he's like, "I'm not even the Last Jedi," all that good stuff. I wanted more.
Right.
It may have been enough for some, but I wanted more. I wanted more of her understanding what it's going to take in this next film. Because, by God, we're either going to have gone past that enlightenment of what's going to be put on her shoulders, and we're going to have to move into quickly for her to do whatever she needs to do. But I needed more of that.
And the thing is, and I think you will get so much of her now in Episode 9. Luke is gone. Leia will not be there anymore. Yeah. And now you have a plenty of screen time for all those characters to really get after it. So in this, what you had to do, Luke goes away for a long time there, and I loved that because that's the device. Is he going to come back in when Snow's confronting him? Where does Luke come back in? And you just didn't know when and where he was going to come back in.
What if he just didn't?
And then what if he didn't? You know what I mean? I was thinking that was in my mind too from Force Awakens. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But the fact that they tied it back into the idea that he would go out and face the whole First Order is just awesome. And
I'll say this,
it's sacrifice again. Paige sacrifices, Luke sacrifices there, gives up his life. Finn was willing to sacrifice himself for this cause.
See, that's the thing, man. Like, I don't know. Rose as a character, it's fine or whatever. I don't know, man. It just took away from me so much. I liked her sister's sacrifice. That got the point across of sacrifice.
Yeah.
It just seems so unnecessary. There was time in there that we could have spent on other things. Whatever. I'm over it.
Yeah. It's neat. I wouldn't say it's one of those things where it's just sort of like, I'm trying to think of, I don't know. It was just
so displaced. It just, I don't know. It felt like when they were at Canto Bight and they're riding those like horses, it just felt so unnecessary and not even like a part. I feel like you could have taken out that altogether and we would still have a complete movie. I don't know.
Did you know Rian Johnson said that he basically, when he had cut this bad boy down to like 3 hours or like 3.5, there's gonna be so many. He said there's a lot of deleted scenes.
Wow.
And then somebody asked him, they said, well, what do you think there should be an extended cut? And he was like, absolutely not. He goes, I got this down to 2.5, just over 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
2.5 hours. Yeah. And he told I think he told a really good story. I get the Canto Bight is sort of what kind of throws people. It adds that extra layer. It actually adds in what Star Wars does, what it's done, excuse me, traditionally, which is where you've got Rey and Kylo fighting Snoke, you've got Rose and Finn working all at the same time. That's happening, and then you've got Leia and Poe trying to escape, and then Holdo shooting through there. It was a lot going on, and I think that was what sometimes people were like, oh, what's happening? It's just so much, and I get that, but they've done that in Episode 1.
Yeah, no.
I mean, they've done that different times. So
I think the prequel transitions worked well with the multiple stories going on. I appreciate they weren't executed great, whatever. And maybe
once they get out of Canto Bight, I feel like it's better.
Yeah,
but it's just and I get why they did that was to try to. Because we would have said, had we not have seen that, I think we might have been saying, what else is going on in the galaxy? How is the First Order influencing the galaxy, or the politics and what's going on? So it was it could have been done differently.
It could have,
but they were trying. I think that's what they were trying to do, though, was to show us what was happening out there.
Here's something I thought about the DJ thing. I know we were talking about Rey's development.
We're past that.
We got that. We got that off our chest, right? We could have used a little more, but it was still great. Still great.
Yeah.
The DJ thing, random. I don't know. Everyone expected it to be something more,
right?
But what I was thinking, do you think he'll be in the next movie? And is Finn gonna seek some vengeance now from DJ for what he did?
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Or is he gonna learn from him, join him? I don't know.
No, I think he just sort of shows the other scoundrel smuggler type that are just in between. They don't pick a side.
Yeah.
And there's just a different faction really.
Yeah.
We used to play Empire at War, and there was the
Yes.
pirates, right? You had the pirate group. You had the Empire and the rebels. So you had that third group, right? I think he just sort of is symbolic for that group.
So do you think we'll get into like the nitty gritty of the politics then? Because they're bringing up this very huge theme of like, there's dirt everywhere for war.
Uh-huh.
Are we going to dig? They mentioned this, and then it's like, but then we also have these two factions now, which we expect we're going to dig into, of the light and the dark. I mean,
yeah.
They mentioned it. It's a huge thing to discuss. Then
Yeah,
what?
you mean where we're going
with that?
with that? That's a whole speculation sort of video to talk about where we could go.
Yeah.
I think they set us up for that, and I think the line to help us get there is to see that this is the spark that lights the fire.
Come on.
And how many times did they mention? In the crawl, spark is there.
Yeah.
Leia mentions it. Hodo, Poe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable how many people mention this spark that's going to light this fire,
Right.
and then you see the passing of the baton in a sense of from Luke to Rey, and who is going to be their symbol.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Who are they going to be talking about now? She needs to rise and be, fighting for the resistance like Luke was, taking on whoever it is. So she's going to raise her own academy and what have you. And it's going to be epic, I think. So yeah, I mean, some of the. I don't know. I think that's basically went over some of our cons that we had pulled from comments and things there. But if you got more, I'm sure that you will leave them down in the comments, and that is just fine.
But don't hesitate to leave those positive reviews though on iTunes.
Right.
And leave your negatives,
in the comments,
below.
right? But overall though, I think people need to go take a second look at this movie. I think they need to watch it again.
That's the biggest thing I think we could tell people is you have to see. If you thought it was garbage and you're like, I'm not going to waste any more money, I get it. But like, if you're like, wow, I don't know how I feel about it, which that's initially how we thought.
Right.
Then we thought about it a little more. We saw it a second time. You have to see it a second time.
Right. You do. You really have to see it a second time, and you have to sort of. These little things that you have in your mind that are sort of like blocking you from like enjoying that movie. Try to go in more optimistic and look for the connections. See if you can find all these different connections and what and the writing. Listen to the lines and how are they connecting and what's the theme here? What are we supposed to pull from this movie?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot there if you want to do that. But
the biggest thing, you go into it a second time without those expectations that you had before.
Exactly.
And that's what it's so hard for everyone.
That's exactly right, because everyone had a theory on Snoke.
Yeah.
Everyone had a theory on Rey's parents.
More so than ever before. I mean, there wasn't wasn't as big of a community, and there weren't the means to communicate all of these things when you had the original not the original prequels, so the prequels.
No, yeah.
Like there wasn't as big of a community, and there wasn't as much development on social media.
The other thing too is that you go back and you look at when 4, 5, and 6 came out, people were shocked in 5, right? I mean, absolutely shocked, and it was awesome. I kind of that was the bad guy is my father. You know what I mean? That's like whoa,
it's huge.
And then now when we went backwards to 1, 2, and 3. People diss those because you knew where it was going to go anyways, but you didn't like the writing, you didn't like the script, you didn't like the CGI, you didn't like a lot of different things about the prequels. And I saw someone else who said like they would rather go watch the prequels than watch this movie, and that is just that person is just
a
good
story. Then
I mean that the dark side is clouding that person's judgment. Excuse me.
Shroud of darkness.
It is a shroud of darkness around them.
It is.
And we are here to kind of like, pass on what we have learned.
We've learned a lot in a couple of days. And that's the thing. We're not saying that anyone's criticisms are invalid.
No,
it's just,
I mean,
we like to counter it with just some of the positives that we took away from it. There's a really great story there, and there's a lot of huge there's a lot to learn from this movie, I think, and a lot of acceptance, not only about the story itself, but acceptance that Star Wars is changing, and hopefully it's for the better. And if they end this trilogy and then that's all of it for the Skywalker story, well, that couldn't just end overnight. It's maybe Kylo's bad and that's just it, and that's hard to accept, but.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot to learn from it. So more so than I think, like you said, any of the movies before. I think there's a lot to learn from this one.
Well, it's just like literally, I think you'll be analyzing more. I think you'll be analyzing every line.
Yes.
Not maybe any major character because we already know these characters. It's not like you introduced Snoke and you introduced Phasma and these different characters.
Yeah.
They've been there. We've been introduced to them. We had questions about them. There's a lot of resolve here.
Yes.
And then now there are more questions to answer and we have to analyze it line by line.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. I think it's
and you know what, dude?
a lot of fun.
Like, they don't have to bring in a ton of new characters in this next movie. So there will not be a lot of time wasted on character development of new characters.
No.
They can end this bad boy with those that we saw in this movie and make it epic. Because sometimes, like we talked about the Rose thing and the side story, that took away a little bit from what we wanted.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to do that at this point.
But I tell you what they did that was well with Rose is that just like when they brought in Lando, I mean, you didn't have to tell a whole lot of backstory with those characters. They did it in Rogue One really well.
Yeah.
But with Rose, she comes in and you just accept she's crying and it was her sister that died and stuff, and then you move on from there. She's a fan of the heroes, and it's a funny moment when Finn says, "May the Force be with you," and she was like,
"Yeah, that was
May the Force be with you too," and she's just like really, really into it. I mean, it was the point afterwards where it's sort of just, did they have to go to Canto Bight? It felt unnecessary a little bit because of
the stuff on Crate felt unnecessary. Like her whole, we're not going to survive just destroying those that we hate, but we have to save the ones we love.
I kind of like that,
but coming from her, I don't know.
I kind of like that.
I don't know
because she had just lost her sister, and so she's
true.
growing close to these other people.
Great point.
And so I think she really wants to save people. I don't want this to happen to you. So she's a sweet.
I'm one of the haters.
I know you are. It's cool.
Kick me out of the podcast.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Another thing too that I want to mention before we finish this up, I still have more I want to talk about. If that's okay.
Yeah, hey,
is that
man,
cool?
That's fine.
Is that all right?
I didn't say we were wrapping
it
up.
Right?
I mean,
no, one of the things is that sometimes one of the reasons Mike and I do this, and the reason we went with the cons there and then tried to give some positive counters, is because the criticisms out there are so harsh.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost like
it's like
sometimes
mean.
when you want to sort of relay well, I don't know, I was kind of okay with it. No, it's ridiculous.
You're stupid. You're an idiot. It's like,
so that's why we're here
dealing with either. There could be some people that are very immature or young, or I don't know.
It's just fun. That's why why we're here, and that's why we're just taking it.
Yeah, there's
piece by piece here.
There's a place for that, and it's not. Actually there isn't a place for any of that to be rude or anything.
Well,
like
being
that.
rude, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm totally fine with people criticizing the movie. That's fine.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, I told you up front that I am biased, and that I am going to defend it.
Yeah, you're a fanboy.
I'm one of those fanboys. Screw those fanboys. So that's okay. It doesn't, it just is what it is. We got to get both sides out there, and
absolutely.
So what else though from this movie? I mean, in defense of it, Mike, what else makes it, I guess, a good movie? Where does it,
dude?
Why do you like it?
At first the tone was jarring, but now I'm like, I think the tone sets different expectations.
Yeah,
I mean, we go from thinking like Disney's like getting rid of directors in movies because they're taking too many chances.
Right.
Well, by God, they let this one release.
Yeah, they did.
Didn't change anything.
That's right.
So that tells me Disney's okay with this going in a different direction.
Right.
And I think that's kind of cool because I mean, the speculations will continue.
Yeah.
But nothing's certain anymore. I feel like in The Force Awakens, we had a few things where we thought were really certain, and then they just turn it upside down. And maybe some of those things are still certain, but the fact that so many people that this was such a shocking movie, and before we were just like, oh yeah, like they got rid of the directors of Han Solo because it was too risky. Something else was going on there then, and it was garbage.
That's right.
Apparently, because this is
right.
Some people are calling this garbage, but I think it's not safe. I mean, they had to have known they're going to lose fans over this.
I'll tell you what, to some of those traditional Star Wars fans out there, go look this up. George Lucas said this film was brilliant.
Oh yeah.
So the father of Star Wars came out and said it was brilliant. He didn't say that about The Force Awakens.
No, he did not. He was actually a little critical.
Yeah, he was. He said this is brilliant, and let me tell you why. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because we were at Star Wars Celebration, and we heard George Lucas speak. We heard him talk.
That's right.
We heard him talking to David Filoni.
Amen. Yep.
Okay? And he started, one of the big things that David Filoni then told us later in panels, and we heard it again from George, is it was all about taking risks.
That's right.
don't be afraid was his message to his staff and to his other movie makers and things. And so I think he respects Rian Johnson a lot for that.
Does.
He paid homage in a different way, very subtle. People were like, people who are making the connections to 5 and the prequels and things like that. The reason you're doing that is because he paid the homage and there it is. It's there for you to see. But he went about it in an indirect, clever way. Okay?
Yep.
And you would have been mad about it, I guess, regardless, because we made connections to the old Star Wars, but yet it's so different.
Yeah.
It's just so contradictory to me. But George Lucas loves this. He loves people being risky. I mean, he's the one who came out and said, we're going to bring Darth Maul back.
Yeah.
And Darth Maul had been cut in half and had went down, was dead. Darth Maul was dead, and George Lucas said, you guys figure it out. We're
at
going to
that
bring
point,
him
his
back.
writers are just like,
What?
We are?
Okay,
how
have
are
fun.
we doing this?
And it's a teachable moment. George teaching them, no, we can do this. We can be bold. We can be creative. And
I think
it's our story.
Some of these lessons that are learned, I think George Lucas learned with his story a long time ago. This one man can't just, he let this go because it needed to grow. And he said himself he couldn't do that for it.
Yeah, it did need to grow beyond him.
Had such a imprint on 6 movies, it needed to go past that.
But
right?
Mike,
come on.
But Mike, is that not the theme of this movie though? Is that
it's almost like he's writing it himself.
Right. Do you think Ryan, do you think Ryan looked and said George was the master and that we had to grow beyond him?
Yeah.
And then he puts that in the film. I would not surprise me one bit if that's in his director's notes somewhere.
It probably is, or we'll see it in a special edition of this.
Unbelievable.
I feel like that's honestly like he himself came to grips with that a long time ago. This was his baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did he make what, $4 billion off it? Absolutely. Well deserved.
Right.
But I mean, he wanted more writers to get in there. That was the direction it was going. He knew his failures from the prequels. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to learn. He himself learned it. I think it's really awesome that he thought this was great.
Right.
And he's come to accept himself. Maybe that's what he wanted more out of The Force Awakens, was something different.
Right.
He actually said that it wasn't different enough.
That's right.
So he himself wants that. So I think that's a really nice comment.
I think it was really cool to bring up, and I think that makes Rian Johnson feel good and everyone else. It's different, but it is. I think it was necessary.
Absolutely.
Gets us going in the right direction. So,
and he's got a trilogy coming up of his own.
Yeah, he does.
Rian Johnson.
Clearly, Disney liked. I mean, your critics out there are giving this great reviews. Right? And it's just the fans sometimes. I sometimes think traditional fans like myself and you who have grown up reading Legends and we have in our mind that it should go this way. Need to take a step back and we need to let some of this younger generation come in and influence us. And because I'll hear sometimes my kids speculating and theorizing, and I've said this in the last video, they could have out speculated me on this. And their ideas that I thought were bonkers. Bring them back.
That's right.
Not a bad idea, kid.
Not a bad idea.
I mean,
a bad idea.
And why not? It's a playground for us to think about a galaxy far, far away. That's a long time ago. Don't forget, it's not the future. It's actually a long time ago.
That's right.
And
it was a while.
Just super cool to kind of think that we can go. And it's a big galaxy. And Ryan, it sounds like he's going to go with that trilogy. Whether he goes in the unknown region or he takes new characters and he starts his own. Like instead of a Skywalker saga, it sounds like they're letting him start up another
something different,
something
we've never seen, and that's
that we might follow a different family or a different whatever.
Turn this Skywalker story on its head. Some for great, a little for maybe worse. I don't know,
and we still don't know.
But damn it, he has 3 movies to do himself that have nothing to do with the Skywalker story.
Right,
and I think he did a heck of a job making something a little different. It makes me excited to see what he can do outside of the Skywalker story.
Yeah, it does. And I just can't say it enough. Like every line in this was so clever and so well thought out. The acting, I want to talk a little bit about the acting. Mark Hamill did one heck of a job. Did he not?
Oh, absolutely.
Like his mannerisms, his the wink, just delivering the lines. He sounded like old Luke when he was talking to Leia, and it sounded just like R2.
Yeah.
But when he's talking to Leia, you go back and watch that scene where he's talking to Leia, and she's, I know what you're gonna say. I've changed my hair, which was hilarious.
That's great.
That's the good type of humor. That humor was well placed and was good.
Yeah.
And then the look that he gives her, the tilt of the head, it's exactly like Episode 6.
Yeah.
It's exactly like it, and the way he talks to her, the same tone. It's beautiful. The
right.
R2 thing, the excitement with R2 is great.
So good.
Watch the language, Sacred Island.
So good.
Again, good humor. And I think one of the reasons they might have actually put more humor in this was because of how serious and how just like the Resistance they can fit inside the Falcon. I mean, they're a spark.
Yeah.
And we should have saw that from the beginning, because when they say that, like, we are literally whittling this down to it's just going to be a spark, a band of rebels that are going to get together, and then they have allies out there, but they're waiting to kind of see how this band of rebels, can someone else step up?
Yeah.
Because we still believe in Leia, but Leia's getting old. And we don't. Who else can we believe in? Who can take this call up, right? And I think it was literally, Commander Dameron, learning his lessons, and then at the end, it's very clear that when he decides to leave in the back of the cave, and they all look to Leia, and she's like, "What are you looking at me for?"
Yeah,
it's passing of the torch right there.
It really is,
from her to him, and then the same thing with Luke to Rey. One other thing that I might like to mention here is that I believe Luke, whenever he decided to intervene after he's talking to Yoda, and then you see that Rey's already gone. Took the sacred text. Well, number one, I think Yoda knew that she took those. I think he knew for a fact she took those texts, and it was just sort of let's teach Skywalker a lesson here.
Absolutely. Is that lesson 4? Or
Yoda's he's been around for 900 years, so I don't know what lesson he's on. But, so I think when they're with Snoke, we kept wondering when Luke is going to come back in. I think Luke is watching. I think Luke literally can see what's happening.
Yeah.
And he knows when he needs to intervene. I just really believe that.
Could be.
And then so that just makes him that much more boss to me, Yeah. And then he realizes that this is his chance to come in there and to sort of, stall or what have you. It's just great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. So, and acting wise, Adam Driver, when when he is telling them to blast that ship out of the sky, he's so emotional about it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And when he's calling to Rey, good Lord, every Reylo fan out there was on the edge of their seat.
I thought those interactions were genius, and
they were genius.
I thought Daisy Ridley was really good in those
She cried
moments too.
so much too. Mark Hamill's crying.
Yeah.
Luke's crying through most of this.
The one time
Rose?
I was didn't know what Daisy Ridley was doing. It sounded like she was reading off a script. Was when she first meets Luke, and she's like, "The Resistance needs you." Like, it was almost. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was
intentional. I think it was.
So she was just like, "I don't really know. I don't know much about it. This is what they told me to tell you."
Exactly.
But I'm here because I feel this. So it felt intentional.
But Luke comes back later and he says, and she repeats the same phrase over, and Luke says, "No. Why are you here?"
It definitely felt intentional. I was like, is this bad acting or is this intentional?
Yeah,
and then I realized it was. So I thought that was great. But those moments where she's just like, or Kylo was just like, that time it's the same look in that time in the Force when you called me a monster, and she's just blank. She's like, "You are a monster." Like, it was just. She has
the same look in her eyes.
Yeah. And you know what's great? Like, those are 2 different scenes.
Yeah.
They're doing this. They're not face to face in these scenes. I mean, maybe they were, but
right.
I don't know. They were shot at different times apparently, so it was. I don't know. It was so good.
I know
the way those interactions. Just everything went silent and everything was still.
Oh, the way they did that was perfect.
That was so cool.
That was well done, and because you knew something was different about it, and it changed. It made it feel.
It did.
It felt like you were in the Force.
It really did.
In a vacuum, in a sense. So,
but you're right. The acting, spot on. Even the Imperial First Order commanders that were in there briefly and things like that. There was an awesome female pilot who was ordering the bombers and stuff.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
She
died.
But she felt like legit, didn't she?
She did. Yeah. She, like, just just calling all bombers. I was just like, you are...
Fighters protect the bombers.
Fighters protect the bombers. Yeah, bombers go bomb the ship.
You felt like she was in control. And I was like, oh, man.
It was
crazy. Who is that? Right? And that's just one character that she stood out to me, too. I was like, who is that? You know?
It was awesome.
She's great.
It was awesome.
I mean, so there was that. I just think, from what I heard from the actors and stuff in their interviews and things, was that Rian Johnson can really pull it out of you.
Oh yeah, I bet
he can really get you in the spot, and he can really go over the motivations and stuff, and really get you there and get you into character.
I think he
really
had
well
with how Mark Hamill kind of confronted him with this stuff. I think Mark Hamill's got his mind around like where he thinks this
right.
is.
He thought Luke was supposed to be, and Mark Hamill said that at Celebration. He said, I had to let it go.
Yeah.
I had to literally trust Ryan. I had to put it all in his hands.
He had to make him believe.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have been believable.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he was like, I didn't think that's how Luke should be acting.
That's right.
And so I think that's sort of genius and a big credit to Ryan.
Absolutely.
And I think I heard them talking about how why they wanted to give him another trilogy. They just said he was such a, I don't know, just I guess on set it was casual, but he listened to people. He really worked with you, and he's just brilliant. Essentially, this guy is brilliant. Yep. And they're like, how do we keep this going? Yep. How do we keep this going? You know, like this has been fun. Like everybody likes you, and you're doing a good job, and you're very clever. They said he's very, very smart.
Yeah. Here's 3 more movies.
Right. Boom. Yeah. So
here's 3 more movies.
There's just so much that I still don't think that we've caught, that we've unraveled. Like I think there's a red kyber crystal in Luke's,
we need
hut.
to freeze that frame.
Yeah, the compass is there. Right. He's putting. There's even some symbolism in him putting down the Jedi, robe, the white robe, and putting it down and things like that. But then puts it back on by the end and is meditating with it.
There's something to that.
Something to that, right?
I mean, I can't wait to get this movie on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
cannot wait.
Right.
More so than The Force Awakens.
Oh yeah, and
cannot wait.
And Ryan actually said there's deleted scenes that you're gonna love. He's like, you're absolutely gonna love. But he felt like, they're deleted for a reason. But another thing, Mike had said this. He says Luke says this twice. He says everything you just said is wrong.
That's wrong.
He said that to Rey, and he said that to Kylo. And just to start connecting some of these things and line by line, what was said, and who it was said to, and how many people said that same thing, your mind will start to spin a little bit. And I just think that's the brilliance to this movie.
Die.
Let it die.
Kill it if you have to.
Right.
But learn from it.
Right. That's where we're at.
Put it in the description.
Oh gosh, dude. Before we go, do you have any bold predictions for where we might go?
I haven't even fully wrapped my mind
around this movie. Yeah,
with that may be our next one. Might have to go see it again. You've seen it one more time than me.
Yeah.
I may have to see it a third time, and then just really. I mean, it's a blank slate. I think we believe there's 2 separate factions now that are going to be dug in.
Right.
And I want to see it get really deep and sweaty.
Real serious.
Real serious.
There's so much that they could do. Like, they could honestly even bring in one of Luke's lost students who, like...
The Knights of Ren.
The Knights of Ren.
That could be a huge battle.
Exactly. I mean, Kylo has followers. He can set up his own academy already with the Knights of Ren. And then Rey can also... Maybe there's... she just sets up her own academy, and that is what it is, and she trains herself. And then she takes on, someone else.
Yeah.
Or whatever. They can introduce somebody like that, and then we're there. Or she's been training for 10 years, and all of a sudden, we get it. It's said in the crawl. We accept it, and...
I think, like you said, I kind of feel like they have to do that, but I kind of don't want them to be. I want to see this rebellion and this First Order kind of build... I mean, the First Order's...
Well, it says that they reign.
They reign.
Right.
So I want to see this rebellion grow from ashes.
Yeah.
I want to see all these systems. Make it a little political. That's fine. Maybe that can be Finn and Poe's role more so in these movies. Finn especially. I mean, now that he knows the sacrifice and he's got Rose, maybe that's their angle.
Right.
More so than, fighting the good fight out there and getting codes and crap, code breakers and stuff.
Right.
Maybe that's their angle. And then you just have the dug in light and dark side, and then you have Poe hopefully leading the new fleet, because there's literally nothing left.
No, yeah, they've got
0 fleet.
Right.
But there's going to have to be some recruitment, not just for...
Well, they have allies in the Outer Rim.
They do, but why didn't they? They're going to have to convince them.
They're going to have to.
No one came to their aid.
That's what I said. Leia's too old. She's like, all these things, the past is dying.
Yes.
Who are the new leaders? No one's risen to the call. And so it's like, Poe, you're right there. Finn, you're right there. You're heroes.
There's a passing
Answer the call.
of the torch that I think, and that's, people talk about no progression. I understand what you're saying there. I disagree. I think this progressed just fine. But to me, they're not going to wrap everything up here in episode 9.
Well, here's the thing. No, that's the thing. We've always said that you've always thought that George Lucas's movies would be 1 through 9. It was a 9 episode whatever saga.
Yeah,
that can't be the case.
I don't think so either.
It just can't be. There'll be some nice resolution here at the end of 9, but there'll be still, I think, or maybe not. Maybe it's like maybe it's at the end of episode 3. Look where they left it at 3. You know, it's
right.
like wow,
that could be it. But I mean, does Ben have any children? Do we know? Could he? I mean, who knows? Maybe the Skywalkers take over. He has twins,
right?
And they both go to the light side and join Race Academy. Who knows, man? Like, there's so much potential. You want a Skywalker story? They could just loop it right back into Legends material.
I mean, I honestly thought they were going with Rey and Kylo hooking up, and he wants her for vain or whatever selfish reasons, and she's powerful and stuff. But he also is really intrigued by her, and she does sort of, that conflict is there. It's the only thing. It's for some reason she's the only person who really kind of that he not cares about, but kind of cares about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Palpatine was believable too.
Yep. Amen.
So
he was.
Either way, it's gonna be. I think it'll be huge. It'll be huge.
Huge. All right, guys. Well, I mean, that's just sort of our in defense of Last Jedi.
Did you get it off your chest?
I got. Yeah, and
something else there.
No, I mean, there's just when I hear people going in. I guess what it is for me, Mike, is that I'm more of I'll acknowledge the cons, but I'm gonna look for the pros. I'm gonna try to build the pros up, and if it's not defendable, we're not gonna do it. But I guess I was shocked coming out of this movie. I thought more people would be like, wow, wow,
but
like okay, overwhelmed, but like, oh my gosh, there's so much to process. Instead, people came out. Not everybody. We shouldn't say that. A lot of people came out and were really super happy. I mean, most people out there, I think. But what blows me away is the influence that some of those negative folk have in the community. And I think more people who like this movie need to just speak up and say it. It's a good movie. It's complex, and you need to let people know that. And if that's where the majority's at, then cool. We can move on. And I want to hear what the critics say, and then we want to use that. We want to improve. We want to move beyond. We want to learn from our failures and stuff. But
I think that's what we're taking from it. What made me sad is someone that viewed the video made a comment and said, "After 40 years, I'm done with Star Wars," and that's really sad. That's really sad, and that's unfortunate.
Too bad.
But we're trying to look, at the positives because we enjoy it. I mean, I'm not saying we're trying to be different from the haters, but like we enjoyed what we viewed. It took
we just genuinely did.
Of it, but
we have to acknowledge we genuinely enjoyed it. Some people probably really did not,
and it's very subjective. I mean, like art is subjective. That's fine. Like you like it or you don't. That's fine. It's no one's right, no one's wrong. It's just. We're not saying we're true Star Wars fans because we like this movie, and I'm not saying you're a true Star Wars fan because you became a fan 40 years ago. That's all from a certain point of view. So it's sad that we lost you, but that's also too bad, and we're going to learn from the past, but we're also going to move past it. So I don't know.
Yep, I know.
It sounded really messed up.
No, you really got a lot out there.
Hello,
that was good.
Hello.
That's what she said.
Yep, that's right.
Hopefully, I was setting you up there for that one.
Dang it.
But
got a lot on that one. That makes sense now. I missed the joke. Good times.
All right, guys. Well, so that's it. I mean, leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think of the movie. Let us know where you think maybe it's going to go from here. I mean, if it's too early to start doing that, that's fine. But we still got a lot of folks who are still watching it this weekend and kind of, sorting it out. And you need to watch it a couple of times. Right. So, if you need to do that.
Very true. So, we maybe didn't disclose this was a spoilers discussion.
Yeah, at the end, we'll let you know we're spoiling.
Right. An hour and 15 later, we got you.
We got you. Yeah. Got you. So, all right, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening on Podbean. Check us out on Facebook. We've got a little Facebook page there, a little community.
Absolutely.
Hop on there, talk to us, chat away. We'd love to get back to you. We will reply to the comments down below.
That's right.
And kind of go from there. What's the plan for the future of this podcast, Mike? What are we going to do?
Well, we have trivia trials.
Amen.
For episode 4 recorded. Just need to
That's
do
right.
a little bit of editing for that. That's going to be up soon. We're going to get back into that.
That was fun.
I think trivia trials is going to expand. May only be once a month.
Yeah,
or twice a month, but we didn't finish all of them that we wanted to.
Yeah, we want to get 5, 6. Now we say we go Rogue One and we go, The Force Awakens.
Absolutely. I think we're gonna do some cool things. We talked about having a once a month really big show, maybe like a 2-hour show.
Yes.
Have some people on.
Right.
Different scenery, different views. You may see some Rebel Watch on the go in the car.
That's right.
We want to go to some of our favorite breweries and maybe do some cast from there.
That's right.
At some point, we'd like to go live with some of our stuff. Not just live on Facebook, but live
yeah.
here in studio.
Yeah, that would be really cool, actually. And so I think that's the goal going forward. So if you want to help us out and support us, go to patreon.com/Rebel Watch and help us out there. But yeah, we want to. I think what's going to be neat is that big show once a month. You'll kind of get like a big show where it always starts off with Mike and I, and we're going to just introduce you, and then we'll have Mike might have a guest that he's going to talk to one-on-one. I'll have somebody else, and we'll just kind of see who wants to talk and do some collaborations maybe, and just get after it, man.
Yeah,
because we've got Han Solo coming up, right?
In what, 7 months?
Yeah, something like
6
that.
months?
I don't know. I'm
this summer.
Yeah. So,
There have been no delays that we've heard about, so I think it's May.
That's
going to
gonna
May.
be epic.
Or is it?
Isn't it? Is it?
I think it's still May. I'm pretty doggone sure.
Yeah.
But let us not forget either. We for the anticipation of The Last Jedi. I mean, it's got me pumped again. I got to be honest. As things got busy,
Absolutely.
podcast got neglected a little bit, but we're gonna get back into the Vader comic, dang it, and finish that bad boy. We've got some novels we got to read.
Right.
May next year, Han Solo.
May 25th, 2018.
That's right.
Wow.
That's exciting. We have comics to read. We have a ton of novels to get back into.
Right.
So there's a lot of material there to get really deep and sweaty again.
Right. I'm looking forward to that. So stay tuned for that. We'll keep you guys posted on just a schedule as to what we have coming up. So,
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. As always, may the Force be with you.